Well, hello everyone. It's been a while. In fact, it's been just under a year since we started this project last time, and I was extremely bummed because I got about halfway through the month of making a video a day before life got in the way and I wasn't able to finish my project. So, yeah, I finally decided to sit back down and finish these videos. And I'm hopefully going to do it in time for the videos coming up, because next Friday is the first video of October Nights 3, or 2. I don't know how I'm naming these yet, because technically I've done it 3 years in a row. Last year was the first year with video, so probably this will just be the sequel. But to me, deep down in my heart, it's October Nights 2, or October Nights 3. Just stick with me. Brain's slow. It's early in the morning. I am not going to be able to keep up consistent energy, but I did want to pop back in and say, hi, thank you for watching my videos at all, and thank you for being patient with me finishing this project. I now have a lot of videos to finish, just over 15, some of which are completely shot and mostly edited and just need some final touches, and some things that I have to shoot from scratch because I never got to them.
What do you think?
It's very good. I enjoyed it.
Because how many films has Josh Ruben made? Do you know?
I don't know. I'm not obviously I'm familiar with some of the stuff he's done with College Humor, but not super familiar outside of that what he's done. But I mean, I'm a fan of everything I've seen. Let's see.
Right.
I think it's just from what I can see, these two movies scare me and Werewolves Within. He's got some other shorts and some TV show credits, and obviously stuff at College Humor specifically. But
2 years back to back too. It was not lost on me that Mishna Wolf was the writer for the film.
yeah, I got that too.
I always find it funny when things like that line up.
There's a pun. Was it the director or one of the producers of some of the Spider-Man movies where it was Mark Webb or something?
Oh yeah, there's definitely.
That's another example.
He was the director for both of the Amazing Spider-Man movies.
That's it.
It's those kinds of things that do really make me believe in God. It's like, man, all of human evolution, all of human history, and all of prehistory lined up to make this incredibly stupid joke. And if that's God's sense of humor, I think I'll vibe pretty well with him.
Yep. But yeah, all around funny. God, that opening joke. The Mr. Rogers quote, and then it's applicable to the entire movie. It's not just a random throwaway joke at the beginning.
I mean, I definitely figured it would either be thematically relevant, even if they didn't totally just bring it back later on. But yeah, they managed to work it throughout the entire film, and it totally paid off. And it was not only a great joke to kick off just because of how intense the music was, and just the hard cut to the person who quoted that, and you're like, well, of course that's exactly something he would say, but that's the most possible intense way to reveal such a quote.
Putting it, right?
Yeah.
It's also, obviously everything's in how you present it, but yeah. It's a joke that makes the point of yeah, you can put that music behind anything and it'll sound intense. And yeah, and like I said, I knew that annoying phone tone at the beginning of the movie was gonna come back. It's like that's too specific and too obnoxious.
Yes.
Not to be something that comes back later. And it did.
Well, I hope you've been enjoying the episode thus far. That was myself and Movie Club co-creator Gavin Slay as we worked through some of the October Nights films last year. I should remark that I did finish seeing all of the movies I needed to see in October. I just didn't end up making a video on the latter half-ish of them, which sucks because I was really excited about it and I had really put in a lot of planning work. Effectively, what I needed to have done is cheat, which is, make all the videos in advance, start about half a month early. And that's just not really my style. I really thought I could pull it off, and, I just had too high a barometer for quality in terms of what the video should look like. And I wasn't willing to sacrifice that in order to get the videos out on time. And also, you really start realizing just how emotionally and mentally taxing it is to do something like that. I don't understand how some people do that. I don't understand how Casey Neistat did that for a while, for like years. Don't you love when you swallow wrong and you almost drown in your own mouth? Isn't it delightful? Man, I love the future. I love healthcare. I'm having a good time. I'm not having an emotional breakdown right now, I promise. Well, the movie I'm supposed to dip in and talk about is the one that we've already been talking about, Gavin and I, which is Werewolves Within. I believe this is our 13th episode, so nice and unlucky. Which it is for a lot of these characters, because this is a movie about werewolves, and werewolves tend to, eat people, and that isn't good for people. The good news is that a lot of these people are, while great characters and fun to watch, very, very terrible people. But let's talk about this movie in particular and break it down a little bit, so that way you kind of get a bit of a teaser, and maybe you want to check it out yourself. This is actually the second directorial feature film from director Josh Ruben, who really got his start back on College Humor, which is now, I believe, called Dropout. And the work that channel did in terms of, shaping the internet comedy landscape cannot be overstated. And Josh Ruben's particular contributions to that channel, and thereby internet comedy at that time, can't be overstated. He's genuinely a great force in comedy and continues to just kill over and over and over again. While he did co-write his previous feature, Scare Me, which is available on Shudder if you want to check it out. It's a lot of fun. I think Gavin and I talk a little bit about it in our breakdown with spoilers coming up in just a few minutes, so you should check that out if that's something you're interested in. But this one he actually didn't write. This is a screenplay by Mishna Wolf, which, as we already mentioned, the irony of that is not lost on me whatsoever. I'm delighted by it. I don't know if you've ever played the game Werewolf or Mafia or anything like that. That's what Werewolf effectively is. And it's actually kind of name-dropped in another big movie from 2022, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. If you followed my kind of review of it on Letterboxd, you know that my initial viewing of it was not exactly the most positive experience. But I've definitely come around on that film, and I really do enjoy it. And I think that Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is a nice companion piece to Werewolves Within. I think they'd be a delightful double feature. So if you can, do it. It's a lot of fun. I totally get waiting, though, because, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies will be out on Blu-ray very soon. If you're anything like me, you like to collect stuff. Specifically physical media, because the digital media, retailers are all a lie. But irregardless of that, this is all about a small-town cop who has been sent to work in this really tiny, out-of-the-way town that, is in the middle of nowhere. This town happens to be filled with a bunch of strange and interesting characters, including a male person, a gay couple protesting a pipeline that also happens to own their own company, which is delightful, as well as a professional pipeline advocator, whose job it is to convince this entire town to vote in the affirmative to get this pipeline built. So, no political discourse whatsoever happening in this film. But Sam Richardson plays our main character, Finn Wheeler, who is the cop that's kind of a fish out of water and moving into this tiny town where a lot of interpersonal politics are already going on. And it's his job to figure out who all these people are and how best to protect and keep the peace amongst them. And that might not be too difficult of a job, until it turns deadly when they find a dead body and the power goes out. And now, there just might be a werewolf running around eating people. Not good. It's also pretty tough to arrest a werewolf. They're dogs. They're very hard to reason with, I guess is what I'm saying. The aforementioned male person is played by the AT&T girl that you see all over your television and in AT&T ads that you see on YouTube, for those of you who've cut the cord. Milana Van Trube, who plays Cecily Moore, who's kind of sort of a love interest for Finn, but also her own character, who is a delight. She's the one that already knows how the whole town works and is trying to get, Finn settled in and help him navigate all the mess that he's just stepped into now that he's kind of the deputy, the sheriff of this little tiny town. I actually grew up playing Werewolf, which is a lot of fun, and then obviously its variations, Mafia and Bodies, 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 which if you haven't played, it's a really fun party game, or at least it is if you have the right kind of people. It's like, and I don't know why I'm using this metaphor because I've never done it myself. It's like if you were to do any kind of hallucinogenic drugs. It's all about the people you do it with. If the people you do it with like messing with you, screwing with you, or are just bad people to be around because they are kind of put bad vibes out, then you're gonna have a terrible time. If you're with the right group of people, you will have a delightful time. It's so much fun as long as no one really takes it personally and everyone is comfortable playing a role. Because that's one of the fun things about this movie, is it eventually you start to realize all these people are sort of kind of leaning into their very tropey, stylized ways. They lean into what people think about them in order to hide or obscure something else. Because while everyone isn't a werewolf, everyone's hiding something in this tiny town, and it's up to Finn Wheeler, played by Sam Richardson, to figure it out. I think this cast of characters is absolutely delightful, and it's a bunch of great character actors who do amazing comedic work, but also play the horror bits very straight. It's a bunch of people who are committed to the bit, who understand what the film is going for, and help to nail that effect. I think Werewolves Within is still one of the very, very underseen films from last year. So if you haven't checked it out just yet, because it was released in a pandemic, which sucks, it's a delightful film and it's entirely worth your time and attention. Go ahead and pick up a copy. I'm sure that your local store probably doesn't have them anymore because everything's moving online. Thanks, Amazon. But you can buy yourself a physical copy or rent a digital copy. It's a lot of fun. It's a great movie. And if you want to check it out, obviously with all these episodes, the link to check out the movie where it's streaming, if you have a service that is streaming on, or you want to buy it, downstairs. Just check it out. I don't get money from this. Just enjoy a good movie. That's what I want you to do. So with all that being said, I hope you've enjoyed yourself. And now we're going to go back to our regularly scheduled programming as Gavin and I dive into the spoiler territory. I hope you enjoy this.
You really have to, in a movie like this, the thing about writing any kind of detective story or like some mystery story is that every element has to come back and play into it in some regard.
Yeah.
Unless it's something kind of like true crime with the Zodiac, where like that's still not resolved.
Right, where there's a bunch
Even with the most recent news, like the more you dig into that, the more it's just like, oh, this guy's been crusading for being this person for a couple of years, and he finally got, enough news outlets to follow him down that rabbit trail of circumstantial evidence, and they're all reporting it as though, we finally solved it.
Yeah.
And that's not accurate at all. But when you make movies like that, you have a little bit more room for things to maybe not come back because there is no resolution to those kinds of movies.
Right. It specifically is left open.
And sometimes they're literally putting threads in there for you to follow and they go nowhere. And it's frustrating to put you in the shoes of the detective. However, none of these these don't feel like red herrings here. Like they're everything pretty much comes back. The only thing that I don't know if they ever fully explained was the mountain collapse, like that. Yeah,
that seemed like, well, at least she seemed to imply that was just a happy coincidence for her.
It's a happy coincidence for her, but it almost suggested that someone did that. I thought, based on the way that the shots played out, because it was like through the binoculars looking at that, and then it like panned over to something that almost looked like it was like smoking.
I took that as like, or what I saw from that was just a power line that got knocked down, maybe something that was popping out. Maybe it was something more than that. It was a very brief shot of something. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, in films like this, everything has to come back. So yeah, of course the ringtone, silly as it is.
And just, I did like a lot of how it, like at the very end of the movie, how like they did like sort of refresh your memory about some things that happened really early on without like expositing.
Yeah.
Like being back in the same room where they were throwing the axes and you get a shot of the target behind him before he actually goes and gets the axes and throws it the werewolf.
Yep.
And you're like, oh yeah, they kind of, with that shot, remind you of that happened, and there are those weapons available before that. Or mentioning Emerson again around then when she's saying she said I had to plant the collar, and you're like, oh yeah, Emerson's alive. He can show up, and he did.
He does, yeah.
It's this nice way of being like, oh yeah, this like kind of suddenly cluing the audience into,
right.
Like you said, like loose threads that have yet to show up and that still need to.
Right, and they also do that with Janine in that same scene. Like, oh, yeah. I wonder if she's still alive.
You grew damn so much.
Yeah. I do like the reveal of the villain. I did briefly have the thought, back when David, I believe was his name, got his hand bit off.
Yeah.
I didn't see her in the hallway, and I was like, huh, I wonder if it's her. And then enough time passed between that and the ending that I had kind of decided that I didn't think it was her.
Well, they do kind of like feint at almost everyone being, and obviously a lot of other people end up murdering other people anyway, which is fun.
Yeah.
Because again, in a good monster movie, the monster isn't the only monster, I guess.
Amen. And I like that actually becomes part of the monster's plan. Is her whole idea was, I'm going to turn all these people against each other, and I'm not even gonna have to do most of the dirty work.
Yeah, just kick it, like set up the pieces, push that first domino over, and just let them go to town.
Yeah, and then feast. I think the scene that threw me off her trail, which was perfect acting on her part, was the newspaper where she briefly alluded to it might be him, and I was like immediately, it's not him, but that threw me off because it was like, oh, she's totally into this role. And I do like how it's also she takes over the mailman's job, because who do you trust more, or who do you not think of more than your mail person? You think of them briefly, maybe if you hear them come down your street, but typically you just know they've been there because your mail's there.
Yeah.
Do you know your mail person on a first name basis?
No, me no.
And you live in a small town too.
Yeah. Well, I think I know for a fact that there's multiple people who deliver my mail, because I don't have like a mailbox. It's a box in my apartment.
Right.
But
there's like 2 or 3 people who do it here in my town. And you can tell when it's one of the trainees that's getting to check out the route, because our mail gets here at like 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's a totally unassuming job. You're like, yeah, that's the mail person. Cool. As long as my mail gets here, I really don't care.
Yeah.
And it works. It's such a good choice if you're gonna pick someone to pick off and take over their job. Such a good choice. And I like how it's not an inconsequential character either. Like you're reminded about that person, not just because we literally see their mauled body later on in the film, but specifically because it's an important character to one of the characters that's alive for the entire film. So I think everything has its little payoffs, and God, they played me like a chump too, because I was like so rooting for them as like a couple, because they're so cute together. Yeah. And that's why it's so disappointing at the end when you find out that it's her, not because it's like not a well done twist. Yeah. But because it is a well done twist, you're like, damn it, I bought in hook, line, and sinker to this. I took the bait just as well. It's so good. It's like, I would fall for that so easily too.
I was gonna say, like, obviously she had played the part, like the character played, obviously the actor played the part, 100%. But the character also played her part well too. In that, like, she is doing this whole rom-com thing, and then he gets a call from his ex, and then she just blows up in the perfect way that is like, yeah, he obviously, like, playing like a genuine person who would clearly be offended by that. Thinking about never romantic moment, and you answer the phone to talk to your ex.
So I totally bought that. And I love that literally everything comes full circle, because you get that quote at the beginning, delivered so ominously. And then obviously Mr. Rogers is like woven throughout as a theme. And then like, I love his speech at the end where he's like, you know what? Screw it. I'm a nice person, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone else wants me to change to be however they want me to be. I'm fine as I am. I just love that, because you genuinely
language.
And while yes, he's doing the really dumb thing earlier on in the movie by answering the phone call from his ex, he needs to learn how to move on from that.
Yeah,
he's being kind in the moment and like giving her advice on how to use like the AAA card.
Yeah,
and it's like, that's such a small line, and yeah, it's a joke and it's a funny one at that. But like, he's a genuine person. He like cares about her, even though like he at this point is realized, yeah, it's over. Yeah, like she helped him realize that, and you see that throughout the entire thing. Like he could easily, I mean, he did throw a priceless piece of pottery. Could have just like exploded on all of them, but instead he did that, which was not directed at anybody. Yeah, and then instead tried to bring everybody together, which was all he was doing throughout the entire film, including with Emerson, which is why he comes back at the end, where he like gives him the whole like community pep talk, and then at the end Emerson admits like, yeah, that swayed me, that made me want to be a part of this.
They were just running out the door before he could voice that.
Yeah.
I also want to point out something I recognized. She's the first person he meets when he comes into town.
I mean, I also love that in just 29 and a half weeks, I believe is the title card we get, she's already learned everybody's business.
Yes.
Everything. She came in, she filled in, she killed someone off, she took over this position, and has managed to become a staple of the community flawlessly.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And just the sheer amount of stuff that she knows is incredible. And it's like, oh, this is why she's done so well for so long in being what she is that she's a master manipulator and knows exactly what buttons to press.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I have to, like, previously, based on what news articles we get to see, like, previously she's only done, like, 1 or 2 people. Very small. This is, like, her masterwork if this works out for her. Just
Right.
total, this is, like, a great setup for her. And she just needs to find another town as dumb and as messy as this one, and she can just do it all over again. She pull the Friday the 13th methodology and just keep doing it until you drive it straight into the ground. Or go to Manhattan, one of the two. I also did appreciate the fact that she ate her punk band. That's like the most punk move you can ever do.
Yeah, it's like
So good. I also, now that I'm thinking about it, how quickly she was able to read the main guy, like how quickly she was able to read exactly what was his deal, have the Walden book ready to go, and then knew about Walden enough to like have a conversation with a fan of his work.
Yeah, it shows, like you said, that just like how good of a manipulator she is, and this would be another fun movie to just watch back and just
absolutely
enjoy the fun she's having.
Yeah, watch it from her perspective instead. I mean, I think now it would be even richer to go back and rewatch it and know all the chess moves that we're watching instead of like trying to make our own chess moves. Because we don't ever know concretely who it is. I mean, there's enough little threads like I forgot the millionaire couple. I can't remember the tech guy's name.
Devin,
thank you. There's a scene where like he's a bandage on his hand, which is a nice little like, oh, why is that there? I don't remember that being there earlier. Fun little thing like that, where you're like, uh-oh, could it be him? And then of course it's not.
Yeah.
Because just like, remember Daughter's Birthday, you didn't see that goof, did you? Because you weren't there.
Of course, I could not forgive myself if I went any further without mentioning Adrienne King's fantastic final girl. Oh, crap. What's her name? I kind of figured this would happen. I am terrible with names. But luckily, I wrote down all the names of the characters on my hands, just in case this happened. So, remember Daughter's Birthday? I have a daughter?
And it's straight back to the video as if nothing happened. And the music, I didn't even intend it, but the Friday the 13th music is like that ascending, like right at that moment, and it just happened by accident. It was like perfect, amazing. So it was one of those situations, I guess.
Yeah.
What's the main character's name? That was the point that got me off.
Finn Wheeler.
Yeah, so Finn, like you said, the first person he meets is this male person whose gender is a construct. I can remember lines. That's the thing that hurts my brain, is I like immediately jettison all character names.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
I can remember like whole sections of the film.
I have IMDb pulled up so that I can remember.
I should have it pulled up. I have it pulled up. The first character we meet, and we immediately go, oh yeah, she's trustworthy because she's telling us everything we need to know about the town. So she's giving us exposition and character introductions in a way that is comical and sarcastic. So we're immediately like, I like her because she's going to tell us everything. And she's just going to read this town for filth, and we're going to know all its dirty secrets. And we, like Finn, immediately take to her, not just because we like are rooting for them as like an OTP, but because she's telling us all this stuff that is pretty objectively true.
Yeah.
But she's literally telling us all of her research that she's going to use to manipulate these people and us throughout the entire film. And
it was
because of the way the film's written and because of the way that character is introduced that we immediately go, got it, I trust her.
Yeah.
And so no matter what amount of information, I'd love to go back and watch it and see just how many like little little breadcrumbs we get throughout that are like telling us, no, it's her, that we're just totally ignoring because our brains have already been conditioned to believe, it's not her.
Like, thinking back now, I don't remember her, like, obviously when you usually see someone cranking a car or trying to crank a car, you usually hear like the starting thing, like, I don't remember that hearing that in the movie.
Yep.
I'm thinking that's intentional.
Oh, absolutely.
Because she wasn't trying.
Also, these character actors are amazing. Like, all of them are so perfectly cast.
So obvious, so small town, quirky, and kind of specific that you're like, yeah, I buy all of this.
Right, and like we've all met people like this too, especially like the super conservative couple.
Yeah.
That are like so hypocritical because they're like, I don't like swearing, but at the same time, like one of you is a total creep and deserved to have their hand bit off, and the other one is a psychopath and or at least a sociopath and self-medicates with alcoholism, but they constantly are judging other people.
Yeah.
I did like the one bit when she's like holding a gun at them in her house at the end, right before she gets thrown in the fire. Was like, I don't care what you guys do in the privacy of your own house. Like, that's not like, she does clarify, like, that's not the reason you don't belong here.
Yeah.
Just a little tiny thing. I'm sure she's prejudiced about them in many other ways, but like just that one little thing. I don't care about that.
Just yeah, all the characters and the scientist lady who's super suspicious, but see Dr. Ellis.
Yes. And then Joachim, his actor, is in that new What We Do in the Shadows show that I've heard is very good.
Oh yeah.
Wayne Duvall is one I recognize, and I couldn't figure out from where. It's from several films because he was in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, which I'd forgotten. Lincoln, which small role and not the main character, so easy to forget that he's in that. What I remembered him from was 2020's The Hunt, which was a horror comedy that I also really enjoyed that came out way too late for its political musings to, really be hard-hitting, but also didn't go nearly as hard as it should have.
Yeah.
But is still a really fun film.
One more fun detail I remember noticing in the moment and then tossing away was when Cicely has introduced you to the whole town and then brings you to Emerson's place.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, yeah, no, you can go on and do that. And then it's like suddenly super unhelpful.
Right.
Where it's like, that stuck out to me in the moment as being sort of out of character, sort of weird. And then you just move on. And it was like, okay, whatever.
I mean, I kind of took it in stride once we saw how intense Emerson was, especially in the first encounter. I was like, I get it. I understand why you wouldn't want to deliver packages to a sociopath like that.
It made sense that she wouldn't want to go up there. It just felt like the specific way she handled it, specifically when she'd been so helpful and been so eager to tell him about everything else about the town. And suddenly she's like, yeah, just go up there and have fun.
I mean, I do think she did try and tell him about the sign, but of course he was distracted by ex-girlfriend all over again.
Right. I guess my point is it just seemed like a little bit like, wait, no, don't go.
Yeah.
It felt a little bit like that, and then because the way the movie is paced and everything, you just moved on, and you're like, okay, yeah, I buy into her overall as a character.
Right.
And it didn't seem suspicious necessarily so much. It's just a little bit weird.
Yeah. And
then I forgot about it until the end when I'm going back through the movie in my head and picking through stuff, and it's like, yeah,
that tracks.
That makes a little bit more sense now.
Yeah. Do you know what year the game came out? Because it's based on a video game.
The game, as in the movie? What David did?
No.
Oh, the Werewolves Within game. Yes. No, I do not. No. I was gonna look that up because it sounds well. I wonder what the game is. Is that it looks like 2016 maybe?
Okay.
It's a relatively recent one. Oh, multiplayer VR game.
Oh. That's probably why I haven't checked it out.
It's a Mafia style game.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've played Werewolf. I just didn't know that this game was literally that.
Yeah.
Okay. So they probably went a little bit more creative story-wise.
Yeah.
With the film adaptation.
They basically just made a whodunit, which is kind of what those games are trying to simulate.
Because, like, I guess the point I was trying to make with figuring out when this came out is like this has a lot of Knives Out vibes.
Yeah.
And I think knowing what we know now, that the game is much more bare bones than the story we have here, is this was inspired by Knives Out, not the other way around. Where, like, if the game had come out and been much closer to the story that we experienced here, then you could probably argue that Rian Johnson experience in that may have obviously he didn't go, I'm gonna put werewolves in my movie, but like the vibes of the story were very similar.
I think so. I do also think some of that's just the whodunit format, which both
Yeah,
movies
of
are
course.
very much using, and yeah, I think. But yeah, I agree. I enjoy whodunits, and both these are wonderful examples of them, and have a lot of the fun things that you would expect to find in a movie like that.
Very much so. And now at some point I need to find a way to program in watching Brick, which is Ryan Johnson's other whodunit, though
Oh, yeah.
much less funny, much more straight,
Right.
much weirder, but also very good movie. I can't remember if that is on Criterion, but if it is, I think that was one that I almost got but didn't.
I would have if I'd known it was a thing.
Just because you like Ryan Johnson as much as you do.
Yeah, I mean, I like all those other movies. This does not look like it's just watched. Does not look like it has it on Criterion, so I don't think so.
Well, it only pops up on Criterion if it's part of the Criterion channel, because it's a streaming service it's looking at. It's not whether or not you can buy it through them. Well, now that you've seen this, you should also check out another fantastic movie in this vein, The Wolf of Snow Hollow. It is another kind of whodunit, but it's also a comedy, dark comedy.
Yeah.
Much more bloody and violent, which I appreciated. It like clocks in at like 80 something minutes. It's a short one too.
Yeah.
I love this update to IMDb where they're like, hey, instead of leaving all the important information like rating and title and I don't know, length of film, I'm gonna put the trailer for the movie over all that information because that's smart.
Obviously, like you said, this movie Werewolves Within wasn't super gory. A lot of it was cut out, but I thought it was effective
Oh yeah, absolutely.
for the most part. There was some of its budget too, like when they did the gas explosion from shooting the thing.
It's totally a CG shot that's wide out,
Yeah, a really wide, far shot.
but it's also like it works because of the tone of the film as well. Like it's not like that's a weird shot.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, of course that's the shot they would go with because it's funny.
Yeah.
You expect loud noise because explosion, and instead you get it's awesome.
Yes.
It's a classic, but it's done to great effect here. So yeah, this is definitely something that like I wish more people had seen because like it's totally worth your time. It's very funny. Oh, the other thing about The Wolf of Snow Hollow that's important is it's Robert Forster's last film,
Okay.
and he does a fantastic role in that movie. Very good, talented guy. The other, I mean, this is something that I say with like literally any werewolf movie that's a sort of whodunit now, is both this and Wolf of Snow Hollow are probably the best adaptations I've seen of Stephen King's Cycle of the Werewolf, despite the fact that they're not adapting that material necessarily.
Right.
But since those kind of are the stories that were being told, inherently, because that's such a quintessential one to me, it always seems to be like, oh, it's that. And you get a lot of elements from that book that end up in this, whether they read it and were influenced by it or not. But yeah, the writer, director, star of that is very talented. Big fan of him. It was because I watched this movie last year when it came out because it went straight to VOD, obviously.
Got it.
Watched it with the family. We really enjoyed it. But when I went to see Halloween Kills, he's in the cold open of that film. And I was like, oh, it's just literally the Leo meme was me in the theaters. But yeah, he's the thing about both of those movies is they're both dark comedies about werewolves.
Yeah.
And they're both whodunits, but they're both their own thing as well.
Right.
I think these movies pair well with one another, and they would only enhance each other watching them back to back, as opposed to, I'm watching the same movie again. Not really. They're different enough. He looks so proud of himself. Like he's like, yes, this is exactly what I've wanted. He went from loving you to wanting to, maul you.
He always wants to eat me.
Yeah, he's decided that you're done.
Well, that was a bunch of spoiler nonsense, so I hope you enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. I'm so glad that Gavin and I got to hang out and watch this delightful movie together. But with that being said, as always, I've been your host, your ghost host, Patrick Smith, and thank you for joining us for October Nights. Stay spooky, my friends.